Hey everyone. For those who don't know, I just wanted to give you a little update as to the story of my life. Tuesday I went to see the doctor just to find out, what my results were. And of course, because this is the way my life is, they came back with cancer cells still there. So, and the odd thing is Kevin and I asked the doctor, should we do the surgery back in July to clean everything out and then do the treatment and then do another surgery? And he was like, oh no, we don't need to do that. And I'm thinking, yeah, we did need to do that. And it was ridiculous that we didn't do that, because all it does was you just left cancer in there to, now the medication not only has to kill the cancer that's in there, but it has to keep new cancer from growing. So you're asking it to do double duty, and that's really not an effective way to treat the cancer. So I kind of wish I had just gone with my gut and had the surgery in July and not listened to the doctor and said, hey look, I want the surgery, let's do it. But you listen, you think your doctor, and I'm gotta be honest, my doctor's a fantastic doctor. He's wonderful and he's so kind-hearted and good to us, genuinely cares about my husband and I. But he's kind of a fish out of water with me. He's used to women walking to me like, get it out, take it all out, and I'm not like that. I don't want to lose my body parts. I want to keep everything. So I think it sort of is a new, he's just not used to dealing with someone like me. And he's kind of playing ball, in a game that he's never played. So it's a little bit different. And I don't spite him for doing that. It's not his fault. It's mine for not pushing it. Because I should have gone with my gut. And I should have said, no, let's do the surgery now, and then we'll do another surgery in October. And I think I would have been better off. Because now he's like, oh, we'll do a short-term one. We'll only do 2 months, and I'm pretty sure we'll get it all at that point. I'm pretty sure you will too, because it's probably all gone now. But I have to sit and wait for another 2 months instead of putting my babies back in because you didn't listen to me. So I just get to this point where, and this is the part that people don't understand. I'm not going to give up because it's just not me. That's not my personality. That's not who I am. I'm a warrior. That's just how I am. I fight my battles. I just wish everything wasn't a battle. My whole life has been like one long list of battles. It'd be nice to have something happen for once without having to fight. It just would be nice. I mean, if all this, maybe it'd be nice to just have it happen for the first try with the babies. Put them back in and they stick. Don't torture us any more than what we've been tortured. Because at this point, I don't even want to get happy about stuff anymore. I was so excited over the summer about my IVF. We know how that turned out. I was so excited to finally be close enough to be able to do my FET that I was going to have my pregnancy before Christmas time this year. So I'd be going into the holidays knowing I was pregnant, knowing that everything was good. Yep, see how that turned out. Rug ripped out from under me yet again. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, why do I even bother getting excited? Never does it work out in my favor, so I should just ignore the excitement of everything and just go through life being blah about it all, because it's never going to work out the way I want it to. At least that's the way it's been the last, 41 years of my life. It's depressing that nothing ever goes the way that I want it to. Nothing. I mean, people say, well, you have a great husband. Do you know how long it took me to get him? 32 years. We didn't get married until we were 32. It took me, and I never had a serious boyfriend prior to that, because I'm picky, and I'm not gonna just pick any guy to go out with. So yeah, this is great. 30 years I was alone, and I finally met Kevin when I was 30, almost 31, and we got married when I was almost 33. So, and then the whole thing was I wanted to get pregnant right away. Like, I didn't want to wait. I wanted to have a baby right off the bat, and here we go, almost 9 years later, and we're still sitting here. And doctors ignored me. They didn't want to work with me. They picked on the fact that I was overweight, and they didn't want to do anything about it. And I'm like, you know what? There's a social injustice to that. You shouldn't have the right to deny medical attention to someone because they're overweight. I'm sorry. I don't think doctors should have the right to choose that. And I'm at this damn Zubu yesterday with the kids, and I see huge women. We're talking 300 to 400 pound women walking around with their babies, and we're talking newborn babies. So there is no way they put on over 100 and some pounds while they were pregnant. My guess is they were fat to begin with. So if they can be fat and get pregnant, why can't you work with me and help me? Like, I just don't understand the way doctors think. And so 7 years of my life, almost 8 years of my life, was wasted with doctors saying, lose weight. Well, it's easy for you to say because you're not the one having to do it. So it's put on me. And I'm just so frustrated with that whole mentality of doctors thinking that they can play God. Now I'm with the doctor's office that actually is like, hey, we're going to work with you. But they play God too, because they're like, well, we're not going to do it without biopsies and this stuff. You know, we're going to make sure that we're not dealing with any cancer cells. Do you know how hard it is to grow lining without getting those cancer cells to come back? Damn near impossible. So this means that I've got to now go through the whole process again of trying to build up my lining again so we can put these babies back in. And guess what? They can't use a whole lot of estrogen with me because that's the only thing that they can get to build lining, and it'll cause me to get cancer cells again. So now we have to walk this line. So that's why I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm like, I've talked to too many women who've gone through this. I only know out of the 2,000 women on my Facebook groups, two have gotten pregnant post-cancer. 2. Not very good odds. Now, I would say that there's only maybe 7 of us or 8 of us that are actually trying. Most of us are in some state of trying to get rid of the cancer so that we can get pregnant. I do have a couple of friends who aren't on my Facebook cancer pages who have the cancer as well, who are now in remission, and they're trying. But I have a bad feeling that they're doing the same thing I did last year, thinking they could get pregnant on their own, and I have a bad feeling they can't. You almost have to go right into IVF. If you have cancer, you can't play. You gotta jump right into the IVF and get it done. Because I hate to say this, whatever's causing your cancer doesn't go away when they take you off the Megace. You still have a hormone imbalance. So unless you drop 100 pounds while you're on the Megace, which won't happen unless you're like a miracle. I met one girl who's lost weight on Megace. One. I was like, how the hell did you do? She had to starve herself. And I'm like, that's insane. I mean, she was on a literally no carb, no food, no, you know, like literally her diet was very bland, very low, you know, just fruit, not fruit, vegetables and meat, and that was it. That's all she was eating. And that's all you can eat on Megace, because otherwise you're going to gain. So it is not an easy medication to lose weight on. So I'm just thinking to myself, you know, my odds aren't great. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop fighting. No. But, you know, people say, you know, oh, have faith in God, have faith. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of putting my faith in somebody who doesn't believe in me. Because if he believed in me, he would have given me my baby 8 years ago. He wouldn't be sitting here tormenting me all these years. You know what really bothers me is I kept getting these signs all year, and I believed in my heart that it was from God. The minute I went into remission, women started coming out of the woodwork who had had IVF to have their babies in my daycare. I had 5 people ask for infant slots for daycare, all IVF patients. Ironic? I don't think so. So Kevin and I took that to mean, okay, Christine, Kevin, you two need to go in and do IVF. So we started getting our act together, trying to find the funding and the money and everything we could do to do IVF. And people, I'll get into that in a minute, but people don't realize it is not like you can walk out the door and go get IVF done. It is $20,000. It is not a cheap endeavor. If you have insurance, it still costs you several $1,000s, because insurance only pays for the procedure, it does not pay for the meds, and the meds are $2,000 to $6,000. Yeah, they're not cheap. So to walk around thinking that people can just walk out the door and have IVF done, unless you've saved up $40,000 in your bank account, you really don't have money to go out and do it. It's really hard. And most of the people I know that are my age, they can't afford it. They can't afford IVF. I just got lucky to live in the state that I live in, where I was able to buy insurance, which I paid for. So there's right there several $1,000s out of my pocket. But fortunately, it came out monthly. I was able to pay monthly for that, and out of my pocket. And then they paid for my IVF. So I didn't pay 20 grand right off the bat. I ended up only paying like maybe $8,000 or $9,000 right out, you know, like that. It was a lot less money. And you know, we didn't just have the money lying around. We had to do what we had to do to get the money. And I actually had a family member say to me, well, why don't you start looking into doing surrogacy? Honey, I've been looking into doing surrogacy for the last year. Ever since I got into remission, the idea that I may not stay in remission was always in the back of my mind. And we looked at getting surrogates. That's another $15,000 to $20,000 out of our pocket too. Because you have to pay legal fees, you have to pay their medical bills, you have to pay for the IVF that they have to go through, because just because they're putting your embryos back in, you still have to pay for their FET, and your insurance isn't going to cover their FET. So that's the frozen embryo transfer. It doesn't cover that. It doesn't cover any of their medications. You have to pay for all that. So where do you think that money's going to come from? I just spent every penny we had to do IVF. You think I got money lying around now to do several $1,000s to do a surrogate? You're insane. Yeah, I've got these embryos, but I've had people offer to do surrogacy for me, who are both pregnant, by the way. So that puts that out of the question, because they're going to have their babies, and then they have to wait a year or two before they can get pregnant again. So that at least puts us back 2 years as it is. So the only two people that even offered to do it for me are both pregnant. So there's no way that I'd be able to have a baby for another 2 years. So I'll be 43 years old, almost 44. I'm not waiting that long, people. I'm not that crazy. I mean, I appreciate their offer, and I think they're wonderful people for doing that. I mean, God, but I mean, it would still cost us $10,000 to $15,000 because we have to pay all the legal fees and the medical stuff. So it's not like we could just walk out the door and be like, hey, here's my babies, go have a, you know, like, it doesn't work like that. You know what the sad thing is ironically, all these people are friends. Nobody in my family offered to help me. No one. The only person that's helped me is my dad, and that's because my dad's amazing. And, you know, he put it out there, and he helped Kevin and I the only way he could, you know, but he did give us the only way that we could have our babies. And if it weren't for my dad, I wouldn't even have those 10 frozen embryos right now. So thanks to him and his support of us, we were able to have the embryos that we have now. Oh, it's just one of those things. My faith is shattered, I'm not gonna lie. It's shaken to the core, and I don't feel like anybody really understands what I'm going through, except for other cancer patients who have infertility issues and have been through the same things as me. But to go through this over and over again, and to constantly be like, I'm praying, and then it doesn't happen. People are like, well, God answers prayers when he wants. Well, guess what? I'm on year 8 of this. Clearly, he is not answering my prayer. He's not going to do it. For whatever reason, he does not want me to be a parent. I don't know why. But you know what? I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to let him take my dreams away from me either. I'm going to keep working. And hopefully, he'll see that he's not going to take this dream away from me. I'm not allowing anything or anyone to take this dream away from me. I will fight until I'm dead. I will fight. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's just the way it is. Because I don't want to be a lonely couple. You know, I watched that movie Up. That movie Up is of exactly what this is about. A couple who can't have kids. And that's the whole point of that movie, is you're watching this poor man who's been left. His wife is gone and he has nothing. So what happens if one of us die? We're left alone because we don't have any children. And that's not the way I want to live my life. I don't want to be alone. I don't want my husband to be alone. I want us to have a family. And just the two of us, that's not the family that we envisioned, either one of us. So, you know, we're not going to give up, because we want our dream. And I really hope that God understands and gets on board with this, because this is getting old. It really is. Kevin said to me, he goes, honey, I'm worried that he's like saving it up for something big, and that he's going to end up giving us like 4 kids at one time. And I'm like, oh Lord, why would he do that to us? That's even more torture. That's not a good thing. Handing somebody 4 babies, people are like, oh, what a blessing. Oh no, it's a financial burden. It is a burden trying to give birth to them because they could die in utero. I mean, it's horrible, all this stuff that goes through with it. And then you're almost guaranteed a C-section, because they're not going to let you deliver 4 babies naturally. And so, you know, everything about that is bad. There's nothing good that comes. I mean, yes, maybe when they're 8 or 9 years old, you could start to see reap the benefits of your 8 years of insanity of trying to raise these little kids. But 8, I mean, I couldn't work. I'd have to hire someone to help me, and we have no money for that. So there's just no way we could afford it. Like, and I know that sounds like a horrible thing, but there's a reason why, you know, we just want 1 or 2. Well, you know, we could handle twins, but don't give me triplets or quads. I mean, you know, if I could financially handle it, I'd do it. If I was a stay-at-home mom and didn't have to do anything like every other mom in like Howard County, you know, well then, yeah, sure, I could totally do that. But I'm not. I'm a working parent, you know, like that. I'm gonna have to work. I just happen to work from home, but I have to work. I can't not work, or we can't afford everything we have. So there's no way to do that. There's no way to do it. So I pray that he doesn't say, haha, here's quads. Kevin's like, we'll be living in a shoebox with our 4 babies that we can't take care of, you know, because we have no money. But I mean, it's the truth. And I know that sounds like people are probably like, well, that's ungrateful. It's not ungrateful. It's knowing your limits. I know my limits. I had 2 babies the first year I did daycare. They were a week apart, and I had 2 babies, and I cried every single day. I loved those girls. There was no way in a million years I'd give them up. But I had to tell the one mom, I have to wait a month. You got to give me a month. I got to get used to this one before I can start with that one. Because I was overwhelmed with just 2. Now I could probably handle 2 and it'd be no big deal. And in fact, I'm going to push myself to be, since I have 2 newborn infants starting with me in January, I'm going to push myself to be maybe the sole provider of those 2 babies for most of the time, because I really want to get used to having twins, because there's that possibility of us having twins. So if I need to, you know, give them bottles or whatever at the same time, things like that, I'm going to set it up so I'm the one doing most of that stuff, because I need to be prepared for that. And you know, I don't have a problem with doing it now, because I do have an assistant who's there in the house with me, you know, and it's different when your husband's there helping you take care of the babies too. But you know, he's going to eventually have to go back to work, and I'm going to be on my own, and I need to know that I can do it. So it's a little bit different when you start off with them. But I do know how hard it was with 2. So I can't even imagine 4 or 3. You know, I mean, I know people do triplets all the time, but there's usually help involved. And my family has been pretty, like, first off, none of them live around here. Secondly, nobody wants to babysit. They all can't stand being around babies. They just don't. I mean, they like to hold them for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, and then they're done. They're like, well, take the babies away. So, you know, they're not really into taking care of children. We don't have any. The only other person that I would ever trust to come take care of my babies is Sam. And she lives in Virginia, and there ain't no way I'm getting her to come up here. So, you know, she's the only other person that likes to be around kids like that. She's more like me, but the rest of the family, they're terrified. So that's my blight that I'm in right now. My next surgery is December 1st. Hopefully this will be it. God, I'm so done with this cancer. It's like I'm finished with this. And my acupuncturist and I are working on my weight. That's the only thing we can do, is try and get as much weight off as we can while I'm on the Megace, because the Megace will be killing cancer cells, even though I'm going to be producing a lot of estrogen while losing weight. So this way I'm already on the medication to help like kill them. So the estrogen, and I'm on like a super high dose of this estrogen blocker too, to kind of help with that as well. So, you know, between those 2 things, I'm hoping if we can get this weight off between now and when we put the babies back in, it'll be great. You know, I'd like to get about 40 pounds off. I'll be a much happier person. And it's not that I don't think I can be overweight and be pregnant. It's the cancer. It's not about the babies. I could be overweight and be pregnant. It's the cancer cells. They just keep growing, and if I don't get the weight off, they're gonna keep coming back. So that's the unfortunate piece of that. Well, I'm off, but I wanted to just let y'all know how I'm doing, and I know I feel like a bummer right now. But no, I'm still fighting. And I'm not going to stop fighting, because that's just who I am. But it is what it is. You know, sometimes you just got to push yourself. Even when you don't feel like anything is going your way, you still fight. Because somehow you have to, the only one looking out for you is you. And I hate to say it like that, but it is true. Yeah, you have friends and family supporting you, but that's different. The only person who's going to make your dreams come true is you. So if you don't fight for them, you're not going to get them. It's that simple. Now, hopefully my next one will be a little bit happier, but I don't know that, I mean, we're doing the run. I'm doing the run next weekend, so that will be my next videos. I definitely have to do the run, and I got to put the end video of me running through the, you know, finish line and everything, because this one I'm running the whole thing. If it kills me, I'm running the whole thing. So, all right, everybody, have a good week.